So I was in my kid's pickup line and I saw a young boy, maybe around 8 years old, come up behind another boy who's rather tall, who may be around 14 years old, 13 years old, maybe, and slap him on the back of his lower part of his head. And then he did it again. And then I took notice and said, I need to talk to him. And I was like, excuse me. So both my driver's seat and my passenger seat window were down. I reached over my, as much as I could, over my mirror. And I said, even if you're not going to respect yourself, that young boy needs to keep his hands to himself. And then the sister of the young, probably Spanish, probably Middle Eastern, I not wasn't able to make out, only had their eyes because it was above their mask. She pulled her younger brother away, and then they crossed the parking lot and then stood underneath a tree as they met with 3 or 4 other people, other students. And I saw him, the young maybe 8-year old, smack the teenager again. And then I heard it again because they're actually to the side and behind me now. And I said, y'all really need to keep y'all hands to yourself. And then I heard him lament to the group. I heard the teenager lament to the group that she's not my mom. And so basically, although I wasn't able to see their mouths move, that they were asking, like, why is she even in our business? And so, yes, I'm just parked in front of a car and behind a car in front of a car. I'm in the child pickup line. So I see a teacher approaching, and this is the man that I usually see bring the children to all the cars. Then you'll see the van drive off, a truck drive off, a car drive off, because they have their child now. And so I say, sir, and I ask if he can come to my window, and I put on my mask so that he can know that I'm trying to talk to him. I lower down my my passenger seat window, and he doesn't come. And so he had dropped off a child right in front of me, and he went back to collect another child. And so a lady who was just wearing a badge, I was like, are you a teacher here? And she's like, yes, I am. And I was like, great, have something for you. What I'm seeing looks like bullying, and it's that group over there. If there's any way you can ask. And this is what I saw. I saw a young boy, about 8, slap a teenager on the back, and they have different shirts, so it indicates that they're in different grades because this is a charter school. So she goes over there and then comes back, not to me, but come back to the school on the other side of me, and she talks to a teacher. This lady ends up being, her name is Miss Alexander, and I know this because she came to my window. So she comes to my window, and she was like, what did you see? And I was just like, I told her the story, and then she said, okay, if you could not talk to our scholars, then but instead talk to faculty and staff, then that would be appreciated. Said, I did. I did talk to faculty and staff, but moving forward, I hear what you're saying. I will not talk to the scholars. So you're meaning the students, correct? And she said, yes. And I said, okay. And then, she said, well, it seemed as though that, and then I said, any reason for that decision? Because it seemed as though I could, what I perceived was bullying. She said, well, they said that they were playing. And I said, okay, even if they're playing, there's a right way to play. And, and even if both of them consent to this style and this format of playing, I still think it's wrong. And so she's like, well, we have cameras, and I also want you to follow protocol so that we can follow protocol the right way and deal with things. And so if you could go to the front office, there's a front office right behind me, and there's also a front office for your children, because my children had within this time come into my come into my truck. So I said, okay, I can follow that. So she said thank you, and then that was just the end of the conversation, and I drove off, and then parked. And then I asked my children to come out, and then I walked back over, and I saw her go, and I pulling out the holder from the door so that the stopper from the door so that she can go in, and so the door can be released and closed behind her. And I yelled out to her before the stopper came out, and I was like, "Miss Alexander," and she continued to just go in. And then there was a teacher that made her aware that someone was calling her, and she tried to look, and I was just like, yeah, me. And so Miss Alexander turned to that person and then just kept going. And I was just like, no problem. So now that these students that had been brought over from underneath that tree and questioned, I went to them and I said, she just asked that I not talk to you, but someone that was a lady that was in scrubs, I began to talk with her. And I said, you know what I did? I talked to the teenager and I said, did I embarrass you, or scare you? And he was just like, no. And I said, I apologize, if I made you feel uncomfortable. And also to the young boy, the sister said, yeah, he felt like you were yelling at him. And I was like, was it to she said, yeah, he felt like you were yelling at him and he felt scared. And I said, was it to the point, and now this is the 8-year-old, and I said, well, was it to the point to where he's not going to slap anybody? And then she just turned around and I was like, okay. And so I started talking to the lady in the scrubs, and the lady said, I'm their older sister, and she looked about as old as me. She looked like she could have birthed those kids, but kids these days, or children, or just youth these days, they get to a certain age and they look like grown adults. So just because she was in scrubs, I began to discuss with her if they what they perceived from me. And that sister began saying, well, it was just that. And then Miss Alexander appeared. I was like, oh, okay, here you go. You actually want to talk to me now. So she's like, so she stood right in front of me. And I was like, this is how people box. Just because you're faculty, don't forget you're still a woman. You wouldn't do this in the grocery store. Ugh. You would not do this in the grocery store. You wouldn't do this in the bank or at the post office. Why would you stand this close? So, but she obviously stood that close because she felt maybe I was, that I heard her, and then I just ignored her request for me to follow her, to not talk to the children. And so when she came, I was under the impression that I was talking directly with the sister, which they had let me know. But I had talked to the young, to the sister of the young boy, and now I thought I was talking to the older sister of all three of them. And I did address the young boy that's getting slapped. And so she was just like, I thought I told you not to. Well, she didn't say it like that. She was just like, ma'am, you're talking to the scholars, and I need you to stop. And I said, okay, this lady right here is who I'm talking. She was like, well, even though she's in scrubs, she's a scholar. I said, okay. And I said, here's the thing, ma'am. If there was bullying, which I was under the impression I was witnessing, help me to not so much to understand. I want to bring in the worst case scenario so that moving forward, I follow your rules. And she was like, okay. And so she quieted down in her demeanor. And she said, well, they said that they were playing. And she said she was playing. So they took the sister of the boy that was slapping the teenager. They took his account. And sometimes, just because those people look Spanish and he looked black, I think that even if I was in a different group or whichever, or everyone is black and everyone is named Anuabuchi, I think that still that he does not understand that there are some boundaries, and you can't, and we shouldn't play like this. You are the only one playing with me. It is not reciprocated. It is not consensual play. So this teacher took the sister's account of what was going on. And so anyway, Miss Alexander said, well, in that case, we do have cameras. And then I would need you to go to the front office if you were to see bullying and give them your account of what you saw. And I said, that sounds like I would be putting them in danger, but I can't abide by policy. And it's important that I share with her, I agree with, not only do I hear her, I agree with her, and that I want to follow rules and regulations that are already in place. And what I'm seeing or will see in the future will not and cannot be new, but and that there are already things set in place on how to respond. And so she said, well, she's a mother and she understands, and she sees that I have children here, but if I could just follow those rules, then it becomes on the placement of the school. And I just felt like I'm being so argumentative because I'm forcing her to be even more clear and more clear based off of a possibility. But you know what? I saw this young boy get smacked 4 times and it disturbed me. And I asked, yeah, but I did raise my voice to reach wherever they were. And that's always going to come off as, well, you yelled. However, we need to not be distracted by how I said it, but what was said. And yes, but yet still address secondarily, like afterwards, we need to address that I could have done it in a better way. And she did, which is just don't address them at all. But okay, I'll leave that alone. It is a school. And if someone is smacking my son and y'all want to say nothing, y'all want to go to the, I've already changed my intonation of how I'm talking, but if y'all want to go to the office and then report it instead of getting involved, I find that ridiculous because you're keeping my child on harm until you can get somebody to assess the situation. And I would rather my child's safety be a priority over the protocol. But I think that protocol should have the safety already inculcated, but I'll leave it alone. I would love to hear your comments, but I don't want to keep saying, but I don't want to be defiant. I don't want to be disrespectful and I don't want to think that I have some novel idea that the school has not already accounted for. So I will embrace agreement. I'm in agreement. I will go to the school. And normally there aren't incidents of bullying so close to the school, but yes, sometimes there are. They're in the school, outside of the school, on school grounds, away from school grounds. But I'm going to end in total agreement with what she has asked. That's it. Oh.